I didn't think he was outstanding in the first half, I'm going to be brutally honest. I thought Harry Kane was anonymous for 45 minutes of the game, and that was a big concern in that opening 45, 0-0 at half-time against Ireland. And look, beyond criticism in the second half, obviously, but it's against 10 men. We shouldn't get carried away, is what I'm trying to say.
Without a doubt. Listen, there was some clinical passes and clinical finishing within the game. That was the real plus of it. The fact is, Ireland did go down to 10 men, which was tough on them. But listen, it was one of those games. We had to win the game, there's no doubt about that, to secure top spot. And they went out and done the job. And over 2 games, they got 8 goals and didn't concede. And that was the important thing, and I don't think we really looked like conceding over the 2 games either, which was very pleasing.
Yeah. 03717 223344. Want to hear from you this morning. Are you waking up and wishing Lee Carsley had been given the England job full time? Give us a call. We've just heard talkSPORT's England correspondent Faye Carruthers speaking to Lee. I'm delighted to say that Faye joins us now. Morning, Faye.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Stu.
Morning, Faye.
So on the back of that, Faye, and on the back of the win in Greece, do you think that in the back of their minds the FA could be having any regrets about not keeping Lee Carsley on a permanent basis?
I think they view it that he goes back to the under-21s, which the CEO, Mark Bullingham, confirmed last night, and so did Lee, and works alongside, in inverted commas, alongside Thomas Tuchel, supporting him in his under-21s role, depending what Thomas Tuchel wants to know and learn. Both Lee Carsley and his backroom staff are there in order to do that, so they get the best of both worlds in that way.
What are your thoughts? Have you heard anything in regard to what that working relationship will look like? You know, I'm quite vocal on how important it is that the England manager, senior manager, reaches down to the younger age groups. Have you heard anything about the structure at all on that, Faye?
No, just the same as it has been in terms of what Lee Carsley did with Gareth Southgate. But obviously that's going to be up to Thomas Tuchel, and we won't know that until he starts. But obviously the FA's technical director, John McDermott, is going to play a large part in that, in deciding how he wants it to work. And then Thomas Tuchel needs to choose, you know, how much information he takes on board. But it's vital what we've seen over the past 6 games in the Nations League in terms of the players that have come through. He's handed out 8 debuts to young players, which is absolutely crucial going forward, I think, because, you know, he's talked, Lee, about the pool of players, making them available for Thomas Tuchel and his team, and he's going to need this dossier that Lee is talking about, and this handover. They're going to sit over the next few weeks and compile it, and hopefully he'll have a face-to-face conversation with Thomas Tuchel and hand it over properly, because he needs all of that information to hand ahead of a tough task ahead with the World Cup. And the reason he's been brought in to do the job is to win it.
But Thomas Tuchel comes in with, well, he's in a fantastic position, isn't he? Because so many withdrawals from that squad, and yet they produced 2, well, let's say 1.5 terrific performances, because I wasn't impressed with the first 45 minutes. And he's got the likes of Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, so many alternatives, you know, for him when he takes over. It's a fantastic position to be in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is an embarrassment of riches, if you like. And me and Stu were talking last night about how interesting the March camp is going to be in terms of call-ups, how many of those youngsters are going to have broken through properly, how many of the old guard, if you like, the experienced players are also going to keep their places. It's going to be fascinating to see. I do wonder whether in that first camp we get a larger number than we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing 26 called up. We might get 30 because he'll want to see a few more, but it's going to be really interesting to see who's in favour, who's out of favour, and that's obviously going to depend on injuries and everything else as well.
Faye, thank you very much indeed. Look,
see you later.
Let's see you later, Faye. Let's take a call on this, because Shane is an Ipswich fan. He wants to talk about Harry Kane. Morning, Shane.
Morning.
So what are you going to say about Harry Kane?
Well, I don't think anyone's ever thought of playing Harry Kane in the number 10 position. You know he's got the passes that he can put through, which you saw last night. You get to play Ollie Watkins up front, so you stretch the pitch. Plus Harry can then still get into the box and score, so you get all of his attributes in one position, and he doesn't get into anyone else's, but you still get to have Ollie Watkins up front.
There's no doubt in my mind that Harry Kane can play as a number 10 and probably deliver the passes that we talk about and supplement Watkins. But what I would say is, if you're picking an England side, who plays at number 10? So Bellingham, do you play him out of position, if you like, in a different position? Then you've got, is Foden in your plans at all? That is the biggest problem Thomas Tuchel's going to face.
I think Bellingham should play in midfield rather than number 10. Because he can get into that position. You know, he can burst into the edge of the box from midfield. And Foden he's had plenty of chances. He hasn't quite taken his chance at the number 10 position, has he? And you still want the two players wide, don't you? Whether that be Saka and Gordon or whoever the wide players are. But you can still make a run from midfield and get to the edge of the box as Bellingham does. But you don't have to do it from number 10.
Shane, thank you very much indeed. Interesting thoughts. Thinking that I've got so many options at number 10 at the moment that Harry Kane's going to be well down the pecking order. We're talking about dinner parties and we want your ideal dinner party guests. Lee, the Liverpool fan, says, morning chaps, for my dinner party, I would have both Victor Meldrew and Jeff Stelling to see who is the most miserable, alongside Peter Kay and Gaza to lighten the mood. Well, I think I should say thank you, Lee, but I'm not certain about that. Keep those calls coming in. We'll talk more about England and Lee Carsley. 03717 223344. You can have your say.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.